Welcome to Toronto Talk Sports and More. And as always, I am joined by the talented Mr. Justen. Today we have a special guest from Florida. He is the Jacksonville Jaguars' inaugural kicker, and he is still their leading point scorer and goal scorer in franchise history. Interesting, Mike Hollis.
How's it going, guys?
So, Mike, I understand you had a soccer background before you went into football. Tell us how you transitioned from that and what made you choose football over soccer.
Well, I guess the easy answer would be I'm not a very good athlete when it comes to endurance, and soccer is a very highly qualified sport that requires a lot of endurance. And although soccer was a lot of fun, it was just for me it was a little bit of a challenge. So when it was time to when I played football in high school and also soccer in high school, when it came time to decide what I wanted to do, my next journey into college, there wasn't a whole lot of soccer opportunities out in the Northwest in colleges and limited, scholarships clearly. So, and I was really, pretty good at football. So I chose to stick with football. Not because of the fact that I didn't have to run much. I still trained. It was just a different type of training. And something I really enjoyed. It was a challenge, and I really wanted to be challenged mentally and physically, and really enjoyed it. It was a passion. It became a passion of mine, and so it was easy for me to transfer from soccer and into kicking footballs. It was really easy.
I was going to say, with your success in the NFL, it's obvious that you had a background in soccer previous. Can you walk us through what the inaugural season was for you, like getting drafted into the Jaguars?
Well, honestly, I wasn't drafted. I came out of college in '94 and was given an opportunity to play for the Chargers in preseason. Now, John Carney was there, and he'd spent, I think he had about 4 years or so under his belt there with the Chargers. And I knew going into that situation, it was just going to be a camp experience for me, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I was grateful to even have an opportunity to be in a training camp in the NFL. So essentially, I was just a camp leg for those guys. But they actually wanted me to come back the year after because I did so well in preseason that year. So, of course, they kept John Carney, and John went to the Pro Bowl that year. So I think I pushed him a little bit and made him a better kicker, but which he's congratulated me for and thanked me for. Honestly, he has. But, to be honest with you, coming into Jacksonville, it was a very unique opportunity because, like I said, the Chargers wanted me to come back, but I knew – now John actually went to a Pro Bowl, so I knew my chances of making the team were a lot less than they were even the year before. So, but they were grateful and offered me some time to think about it. And because I told them, Bobby Beth, their general manager, had called me and said, we want you, love to have you back at training camp this year. And I said, Bobby, I just got in touch with Jacksonville. They expressed an interest, and at that time, clearly Jacksonville was a new franchise, and they picked up a free agent by the name of Scott Sisson, who was drafted a few years prior to that. He was out of Georgia Tech. I believe he got drafted by the Patriots, but played a couple years up in New England, and he was supposed to be the kicker for the Jaguars. They were picking up as many unrestricted free agents as they could. And I'm sure when they signed Scott Sisson, they figured that Scott would be the guy because he was a veteran, he has experience. And so I was actually brought into Jacksonville because they had a couple other guys that they had prior to me that they weren't happy with. And of course, Tom Coughlin thought I was too short. So I'd sent him video and they were like, I worked out for him, in Washington State. We kind of had to meet a scout kind of halfway through the state in the Tri-Cities area. And I did real well in the tryout, and he sent the information back, and they said, Mike, we like your form, your technique's great, you're kicking the ball really well, but Tom Coughlin, he's looking for a bigger kicker. And I think I'd mentioned to my kicking coach, Jim Gattano at the time, who is actually still with me here in the office, who we coached together and in pro form kicking. So he had mentioned, I'd mentioned it to him that I went out for practice, and I'd heard from my agent prior to kicking with Jim, and I told him, I say, listen, Jim, my agent called me and said that the Jaguars are looking for a bigger kicker, and Jim just was lost for words. He's like, I just cannot believe that this is crazy. They have no idea what they're talking about. So I think we finished up our session, and back then we didn't have cell phones, of course. So Jim went to the nearest payphone, called up the Jaguars and said, listen, you guys are crazy. Of course, at that point, you had nothing to lose. Hey, listen, my agent clearly didn't get the job done. So Jim, put his 2 cents in, and he talked him into working me out again. So that was the ability, gave me the ability to express more interest with Jacksonville and have them express interest with me, of course. But they basically flew me in at that point, after a couple of weeks or so, and flew me into Jacksonville. And actually, I there was a period of time where I wasn't sure if they were going to fly me in or what was going to happen. And so a couple of weeks was coming up, and I had to give Bobby Beathard with the Chargers. I had to give him an answer. And God's honest truth, I'm sitting on Sunday evening, talking to my parents, about what I'm going to do. I said, listen, I have to give them an answer because, the Jaguars are kind of, sitting on their hands and not really doing anything. So I literally told my family Monday morning, that following morning, I was going to call up San Diego and agree to, go back to San Diego and do training camp with the Chargers. But before I made that phone call, Jacksonville called me up and said, listen, we want to fly you in for a workout. Tom Coughlin wants to see you kick firsthand. He wants to see you in person. And I was the only one they flew in, and the rest is history. I did real well in that tryout, and then eventually beat out Scott Sisson in the training camp, and like I said, the rest is history.
Yep, and you are part of Jaguars history. Again, Mike Hollis holds the record for the most points and the most goals in Jacksonville Jaguars franchise history. Now, you mentioned Tom Coughlin. What was he like as a coach? We know a lot about him. Tell us about experience with Tom Coughlin.
How much time do we have? I'm kidding. No, but Tom was an extremely disciplined man. I've never met anybody more passionate about the sport of football, the game of football. The guy brought a lot to the table with regards to his knowledge about the game. And his discipline, he's very disciplined, almost too extreme, as I'm sure a lot of people saw in the early years of the Jaguars' existence. And then, Tom went up to New York, and I think he kind of chilled out a little bit, and then he came back to Jacksonville and set some other standards, of course. But, Tom has a way of dealing with, professionalism, and, you got to respect what his authority is as a leader of the team. And, he's makes decisions, for the team and for the city, really. And it's, I literally, looking back at the times I was playing, for the Jaguars and what everyone thought about Tom and this and that. And then you look back, 20 years later, you're like, man, I really do respect that man. He's a good man. He's done real well for the city and the team. And definitely, of course, he's won a couple Super Bowls with the Giants and done extremely well. So you can't help but to praise him and give him the respect that he deserves.
Exactly. And someone of your caliber, you've kicked in many, many, many stadiums before for Tom Holland and everyone else. What was the toughest stadium to kick in?
Well, anywhere up north where they didn't have a roof, any stadium without a roof really would be a tough place to play. And I say that jokingly, but with regards to wind and it's stadium conditions with, outdoor stadium conditions, I should say, the wind is very unpredictable. And it really, every stadium had some wind in it, and every stadium was kind of tricky. So, your Green Bays, your Meadowlands, of course, the Giants played and Jets played. And even in Buffalo, clearly I was there for a year. I understood that weather pattern. It was very strange. It seemed like every week during the week of practice, the wind was chill. It was fine. Weather was kind of mild. Wasn't that bad. And then Sunday came around, and you would have thought that it was like, the middle of winter up in the Antarctica. It was unbelievable, the wind and snow, and it was just crazy. But, a lot of places are tough, especially the later part of the year when you get into, November, December, when it starts to get really cold. Chicago is a tough place to play. Not only is it windy, but they never really manicured the field very well. They always had this intention of keeping the grass really long. So it slowed the game down a little bit for the players, of course. And for kickers, you're kicking a ball out of the grass that's, 4 or 5 inches deep. It's not a lot of fun trying to dig a ball out of the ground like that and have a good solid game and good solid hit. But there's been kickers in Chicago that have done a great job with that, and got to commend those guys. But yeah, wind and weather conditions are kickers' worst enemy. But again, if you're confident in your form and your technique, you have nothing to worry about. You just put your foot on the ball and hopefully it goes through.
I respect that.
Yes, sir. Technique is what it's all about. And you, my friend, you teach technique on the regular with the Proform School. I see the shirt that you've got there. And for the show, Liram Haralahu has had some involvement with the school. Tell us about that.
You know, the coaching, the kicking the way I do it. Now, you got to understand that I'm 5'8" on a really good day. You know, after maybe an inversion table and maybe some traction, I'm about 5'8", and I'm about 180 pounds. Of course, you know, when I played. So, you know, and again, I'll add one more thing. I wasn't a great athlete. I was maybe a little bit above average or maybe even average athlete. Wasn't real fast. You know, I did play soccer, but I wasn't a speedy guy. I was kind of quick, but not fast in the long run. But ultimately, the stuff that I was taught by Jim Gaetano was everything that encompassed my body, getting 100% of my body weight into the ball when I kick it, because my right leg alone is not going to compete with the Sebastian Janikowskis of the kicking world. It's just I can't physically do that. So I need more help, which ultimately is my forward momentum and my body weight. Adding to my leg. But in order to achieve that, you have to kind of think outside the box. And that's kind of a challenge a little bit for us here at Proform, is the fact that some kids, you know, especially these days, they're all looking for quick fixes, and they're all, you know, wanting these, you know, going to these showcase camps and hoping that they're going to kick really well so they get recruited to colleges. But in reality, if their form is not good, they're going to be inconsistent. If they're not a great kicker every day, there's a lot of inconsistencies and questions with regards to those kind of guys. And me, if I was a coach, I wouldn't want anybody, you know, maybe you had a good day with, you know, your form that you're using, which I more likely wouldn't agree with because the majority of the kids that we work with, I don't agree with a lot of stuff either they're doing or that they've been taught. So it's a little bit unfortunate in a few ways. We fight against common sense kicking, what guys think kicking really is. And unfortunately, even worse, we fight the other kicking coaches out there that unfortunately are continuing to teach these kids to do the things they're already going to do anyways. So the stuff that we teach is a lot different, and it's a little bit challenging sometimes because it's not easy to do and it's not easy to understand. But I'm thankful that, you know, I'm 48 years old, and I'm telling you, this form is easy once you get it down. It's the most easiest thing you can do once you get it down. I was out there kicking this morning, and I didn't stretch at all this morning. And I went up there and kicked a couple balls for the guy we were working with and didn't have any problems with it. So again, you know, it's just like riding a bike. If you think about Proform and all these kids, when you're dealing with athletic ability and bad form, in other words, you're only going to reach a certain level of success that you specifically athletically can do. Well, not only that there's a time frame for your athletic ability. You reach a certain age and that athletic ability starts to decline. So guys put more emphasis on lifting weights and doing more for their body, you know, physique, and trying to get stronger to counteract that lack of or loss of athletic ability. And it works. It works for a guy like John Carney, for example. You know, form-wise, very old school, very lateral, but he was in the weight room all day long. You know, again, I'm not sure how John's going to feel in the next 10, 20 years as far as, you know, physically. Is he going to be in a lot of pain? I don't know. But again, I've had 4 back surgeries, and I wake up out of bed and pop right up, and I have no problems whatsoever. Now, knock on wood, of course, I do occasionally have some issues with my back, but I'm telling you, with the technique that I've used for so many years, it's helped me out a lot with regards to, you know, maintaining this form. And now that I'm teaching it, that's the other good thing that I'm able to do that, because a lot of the things, like I said, are so different in the kicking sort of coaching industry and world, and the technique is so off the wall and kind of different in a sense that kids don't really believe it until they see it. And so I can show them, because I'll tell them one thing. I'll say, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and the ball's going to go that way. And they'll be like, what? Wait, how? What? They won't understand that until I can actually physically do it for them. And then we get into more detail and we show them exactly how it works. And again, it is a science. And there's a lot of kids out there, unfortunately, are getting taught things that they're already going to do. Or they're getting, you know, they're going to different coaches in different camps and taking bits and pieces from different coaches and trying to implement their own style. I've even heard coaches talking about, you know, we here at whatever, you know, kicking camp ABC, we don't mess with your form. You know, every kicker is going to be different. We're just going to fine tune what you do as a kicker. And, you know, yes, that goes back to the athletic ability. Everyone is different and everyone has different athletic abilities, but what we teach at Proform works for everybody. Now, there might be some athletic ability you're going to have a little bit, but for the most part, we've had kids that aren't great athletes that turn out into be really good kickers. So it works for everybody, and it will get you the best that you can be. And that's really the biggest thing that we want to make sure the kids really understand is that how good do you want to be? If you want to be as good as you physically can be, this is the right way to do it. If you want to just go out there and kick some balls and hope you get kind of good athletically and size-wise and all that, that's up to you. But we're showing you the right way to do it. It's up to you whether you believe us or not.
Wow, I can really see the passion in what you're talking about right now. It's very fueling. Speaking of passion, though, we understand that you're a CBD fan. Can you tell us a little bit about that and the benefits of it?
Well, CBD's made a huge impact in a lot of people who have been, maybe addicted to, opioids or painkillers or things like that. It's a natural alternative to all that other stuff. And the biggest thing that, there's 3 reasons why people come to me for, information about CBD. Like, I got pain. I'm wondering about how CBD is going to help with the pain. I need help sleeping. I heard CBD is good for sleep. The other one is anxiety. I've heard, it'll let me, get me less anxious and this and that. But the thing is, what people don't understand is we have in as a human body, we have what we call the endogenous cannabinoid system. And it's endocannabinoid system for short, or ECS for even shorter. We all have this system in our bodies, and it so happens to be our largest body self-regulatory system. And it controls a lot of stuff: our mood, our appetite, our pain, our sleeping patterns, a lot of things that our bodies do on a daily basis. It's in control of, and guess what fuels that system? Cannabinoids. And we actually have a chemical sort of molecular structure in our bodies that is very similar to cannabinoids or CBD itself. But we also have enzymes in our bodies that kind of eat away a little bit of that before it gets used for fuel for that system. So we kind of, in our humanity, I believe we are all naturally deficient in CBD because our bodies eat away at the naturally occurring CBDs that's in our bodies. If you do a study on if you can look this up, Google it, mother's breast milk happens to be high in that equivalent of CBD. Why is that? Well, it's because clearly the nutrition for the baby and immune systems and all that stuff is very important at the younger ages. So there's a reason why mother's breast milk is very nutritious in a lot of things, and so happens to be one of that chemical molecular structure, whatever it is, of that CBD, of everything that's identical to what CBD would be that's already in our bodies. And it's important. It's important for people to use. And the company I'm with, we have over 223 or so athletes, former professional athletes, that are proudly endorsing our products and the company. So it's working for them. And these are guys that are, your Christian Okoyes, your Nick Lowrys, those kind of guys that have been in the league for a long time. Steve Berline was just featured on a video, and Brian Barker, my old teammate's involved in it as well. But these are guys who have dealt with a lot of pain. And by the way, they are on medications for, prescription medication for opioids and Ambien to sleep at night and all that. Well, guess what? Now they're taking the CBD products, and they don't use those anymore because the CBD products have done so much, have had so much benefit for them that they don't feel the need to use that stuff anymore. And by the way, it's much more healthy, believe it or not. I know them was, THC and this and that. THC is actually a good thing. It's small doses. Okay. So don't confuse that with anything else, because it's been demonized. And I'm sure that you'll see, this industry start to pick up, and people will start to be more aware of really what it does for us.
Well, we're in Canada, so we're out with CBD and THC. Just quickly, what's the name of the business have in terms of CBD? Tell our audience where they can find out more about it, if you don't mind.
You referring to the Cannaway. Cannaway is the company that I work for. CannawayPros.Cannaway.com would be a website that they could go to see my personal website. It's Cannaway with a K. Or you can Google my name and Cannaway. You'll probably find it there as well. But that's a company. And by the way, we are one of 15 subsidiaries of Medical Marijuana Inc. So we've been around the longest of any CBD company out there. So there's a lot of ethics and standards that we have set in the CBD industry, and we're very proud of that. So I look forward to many more people, learning more about CBD and cannabinoid and how it can help us all.
Damn, that's impressive stuff. My God, I'm at a loss of words. How passionate you are about this. Jesus. I don't even know Jesus. Sorry, I'm at a loss. I think you're so passionate about it. Kind of makes me want to experiment a little more and do a little more research on my own. Just another question that I'm kind of curious about. With the COVID-19 tests being rampant within the NFL, how do you see that playing out within the season?
Oh boy, there's been so many inconsistencies with this entire process. I don't have an answer for you because I don't know. There's always changes and always, different standards are set. And now they're saying CDC came out saying that, only 6% of all the deaths that we've had in the United States, at least, were direct results of COVID, and the other 94 that had COVID when they died also had other pre-existing issues like pneumonia and COPD and diabetes, and a lot of and there were older people too, like 60 and above. I think was above the average or around the average of the age of death too. But it's very, the more that I'm learning about this, the more I'm kind of like, I wasn't real afraid of, I'm a very healthy person anyways. So I've been a very big fan of this, that herd immunity sort of mindset where, you get a cut. I don't go to the sink. I don't get my hydrogen peroxide. I rub dirt on it. Okay. I don't care. Yeah, I might get a little infected. I'm not real big into washing my hands all the time and, a germaphobe and all. Again, you have to get that immune system strong. Now the CBD will help as well. I'll add that in there. But ultimately, you want a strong immune system for your body. And one of the best ways to do that is expose yourself to bacteria and things like that's going to strengthen your immune out. So I think putting masks on and trying to defend ourselves from this. Now, again, I'm speaking from what I would consider a healthy person. I don't see the doctor ever. I don't have any issues typically. For the most part, I hardly ever get sick. So I'm speaking for myself in the fact that I'm not afraid of it. I do understand it's deadly, and I do understand the severity of it, but I think that they just, you can compare it to the flu, and the more numbers come out and the more people are talking about this, if you think, well, if the flu and if these people with these pre-existing issues had the flu, they might die too, so did we stop the world because the influenza? We didn't. So we're learning now. I think I'm learning more about this. Is it's not as bad as everyone thought, clearly, and I can understand it was a new virus nobody knew anything about. So I understand that, a little bit of a panic, but I understand the responsibility that the world has taken about this virus. But now that we know a lot more about it, and this is 6 months later, it's a long time. You have to understand that it's not as bad. So why are we still all cooped up and locked up? And why are we all having to wear masks around? And again, I don't want to get too political with this. I think there's some hidden agendas in the United States, to be honest with you. But again, that's just my opinion. I think that there's a reason why everyone's having to wear masks, a lot more than for safety. It's again, how much time we have, and again, I don't want to say too much and make it look like I'm this, this crazy activist. I'm not. I'm just trying to look at this with some common sense and reality. And what really upsets me the most is, and I don't know how people don't see this, how many inconsistencies can we have with this disease? Everything to our protection about the disease, why some places can wear masks and some places don't have to wear masks, why protesters don't have to wear masks, and why people doing, go to a funeral, you canceling funerals or canceling, loved ones, they can't see each other before the older, people pass away in the nursing homes because they might get COVID. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous.
Yes, well, that was
We're in uncertain times, no doubt. This year has been one for the books. it's a year that we won't forget, no doubt. And there's a lot of uncertainty. We'll be learning things as they come up. And speaking of uncertainty, just on a live, the Jaguars of 2020. What's going on there? They've released Leonard Fournette in the last few days, at the end of August, and they've also traded away their top defenseman in Yannick. So, what are your thoughts on the Jaguars of this season?
I really, to be honest with you, haven't thought much about the team. I did see the recent news, and from what I've been told, the Fournette thing had to do with, social media, maybe the, BLM movement. I don't know if the team didn't agree with something that he posted. I don't know anything about that, but it would be a shame if that was the reason why, because he was a very high draft pick for us, clearly, and we put a lot of money into him, and it's weird. The Jaguars have done some very strange things recently and some very strange things in the past, and we are not back to where. Let's go back to Tom Coughlin again. Our early years, 95 through 2003, I think, was when Tom was here, 2002. We had tremendous success, and why can't we do that again? I don't know. I think there's been a lot of change. When I retired from the Giants, really, when I officially retired from the NFL, I moved back to Jacksonville and came back in the locker room. I was working with a Garth Brooks Foundation, to be honest with you, and I was trying to invite as many of the the current players, typically, the current players and guys to come to a dinner that Garth Brooks was actually going to pay for. He wasn't going to be there, but he had representatives that are going to be there and just talk about his foundation. And I got to tell you, just to be honest with you, it was the best foundation I've ever been a part of. That man did more for children than any person on the face of this earth. I can promise you that. And I would go around the locker room, and I knew, I was 2 years out of playing with the Jaguars, so I knew probably half the guys still in the locker room, and the other half are all new to me. But they had a mindset about them, kind of like an arrogance about them, kind of a very careless, like, yeah, whatever sort of thing. And I even put in a little note, kind of like who I am, and I just retired. I played here for 7 years. I was part of the teams that made this Jacksonville, made the city and made the team what it is today. And I got very, very little response from those guys. And I don't know. I think it has a little bit to do with management and the kind of players they were looking for. Clearly different kind of player than Tom Coughlin we'd be looking for. I think one of the best things about Tom was his ability to find very good team players, very humble, in it to win it for the team, not non-selfish. He was very good at finding those guys that may have not been the best athlete available at the time, but they mentally and physically, they were together as a group, as a whole. They were what Tom Coughlin wanted. And we had a lot of those guys on those early teams, very, very high camaraderie in the locker room. We were all a team. We didn't agree with a lot of the things that Tom was doing as far as his rules and things like that. And we'd have our own little team meetings afterwards, but, without the coaches, of course, but to talk about what's going on. But that kind of brought us closer, to be honest with you. And it made us, try harder for the teammates. And we were all accountable to one another. And I just don't think that there's been much of that since then.
Wow, I kind of like those little stories about like behind the scenes. Like we had meetings without our coaches, and then they finally listen to this and they're going to be like, "Did you really now?" So we'll see how that goes for you. Oh, geez, I don't know. I guess it's kind of I love those stories, all behind the scenes, kind of little goosebumps there, if you will.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because a lot of people clearly they don't see all that, and it's unfortunate that people have to kind of assume different things here and there depending on the story or what happened. Or, again, me as a kicker, many times people, they have their own opinions about what I should have done or could have done. I'm like, well, you really didn't know the whole situation, so kind of reminds me of the politics and things going on right now in this world today. It's crazy. They're very quick to create their own narrative and judgment on things without actually looking at the details of what really happens.
That is very, very true. So another thing for you, another quick question. There was whispers and rumors about the Jaguars being relocated, right? If they get relocated to London, is that something you feel like will happen? And will you be excited to be flown out as kind of a veteran?
You know how long they've been whispering the team moving. It's been going on. It seems like every year there's some sort of talk about the team moving. It used to be LA, I think for 1 minute, might have been like a Minnesota or something, or I don't know. There's been all kinds of rumors about the team, but Shad Khan has put a lot of money into the city, in the area downtown where the stadium is. He's actually still putting money into it. They've got big plans to do some big stuff down there, and I clearly, yes, I see where people would think that. As far as the London move, I don't foresee it anytime soon. Maybe it will happen in the future, maybe 10 years from now. I don't know. Again, my opinion, I've been very cautious about my opinion as far as I'm always, people try to ask me about prediction of this year. How the Jaguars going to do? Give me what's your prediction of the record, and I've been wrong every year, so I'm tired of guessing. I just give my opinion and see if anybody enjoys that or likes that about it. But yeah, I'm telling you, I've been in. I read. I see stuff on social media, and they talk about it every year. And let me ask you this: if the team is doing really, really well, would we be having this talk right now about the team moving? Probably not. So again, let's get back to winning Jaguar football and let basically squash that talk.
Squash that talk. That should be the name of, like, on your logo there. Like pro form, squash that talk.
I like it.
Squash that talk.
That's the name of this interview. Squash that talk.
Yeah.
All right.
Squash that talk. Now we're gonna squash that talk right here. Are you ready for a game, Mike?
Sure. Always.
This game is called Would You Rather. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and you have to tell me what would you rather do in each given situation. So number 1, would you rather have a successful talk show or a successful radio show?
What's the difference between a talk show and a radio show? So
like Ellen DeGeneres kind of talk show?
Oh,
like you're on TV versus radio show.
I'm good with a radio show. I think radio would be, maybe kind of a hybrid, like a Howard Stern radio show or something. I think would be kind of fun. Or, Lex and Terry here in Jacksonville used to be here many years ago. Good friends of mine. They're good people. But yeah, I think, I don't need to be in front of a camera. I don't care. I mean, again, I just talk. Love to talk.
And I love the fact that you love to talk. Makes it for a really good interview there. Question number 2. Would you rather have the powers of Superman or unlimited wealth?
I'd say the powers of Superman.
Keep playing your whole life.
Yeah, I could probably get unlimited wealth if I had the powers of Superman.
Yeah, kind of yin and yang there. I like it.
Just saying. I don't know how I would do it, but I'm pretty sure I could.
Oh God, yes. You can enter strongman competitions, punch as far as you. Oh God, it would never. Anyways, question number 3. Would you rather never miss your first 2 field goals in every game? So literally from any part of the field, you punt it, automatically goes in, or have every kick land within 5 yards of the end zone?
I'd rather not miss 2 field. I would rather not miss any kicks. And that's really a bad thing, even with just your first miss. Yeah. That kind of sets the tone for the game, and it kind of makes you wonder. But again, if I was okay with that. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, this game could be a long game. I don't know, but the guys that don't have really good form, they don't have really a good foundation to back themselves up with. They're the ones that are going to struggle with that, even the first miss or even 2 misses. But I would rather go with that.
All right then, I like it. Kind of get your head in the game as soon as you nail one. I'm like that when I bowl. Anyways, that's all the questions I have for you, sir. Just those 3.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Did I pass?
Yes.
You did very well, Mike. We appreciate your time. Where can audience find you on social media?
Most of my handles are Proform Kicking, so Twitter, Instagram, Facebook even. Hollis Mike on Facebook is my personal. That's about it.
On that note, we're going to squash the talk on this conversation. Mike, it's been a pleasure to have you on. We appreciate your time today. Justen, pleasure as always. We'll do it again soon.
Of course.
And for our audience, for watching and listening, for the love of the 6, let's connect.
Thank you for watching. Please click the like button and leave us a comment with your feedback. And don't forget to subscribe with notifications to see more engaging and interactive content. Toronto Talk Sports and more. For the love of the 6, Let's connect.